He was a phenomenon. No longer the prince of pop, he was the king of pop, and very much the rest of the world. How Michael Jackson didn't stop even when he had more than enough, and the king started turning out hits faster than the speed of sound almost. Michael Jackson is the king of pop, ruling the 80s. But did the decade destroy him? It's 1982. You turn on the radio because what else are you going to do? Your boombox is about the size of your fridge. Your Walkman ate your mixtape. Still, you get to hear what you want anyway. The king of pop, Michael Jackson. He's not just a pop star in the 1980s. He was the pop star, the biggest entertainer on the planet. Word to your mother, but the big question is this. Was the same decade that made him immortal, the one that destroyed and left him with the dark final chapter many of us remember? Was he like his other glove, missing something? Did the decade of the pop video kill the video star? Michael was big before the 80s, but how big was he going to become? Michael's story starts with unbelievably humble beginnings. His first group, the Jackson 5, was masterminded by Joe Jackson, a no-nonsense steel worker who raised his kids more by the teachings of Dr. Belt than Dr. Spock. Michael was performing professionally before he could even ride a bike without training wheels. The Jackson 5 put him on the map, but from the start it was clear that Michael was the breakout star. He was a big seller, selling millions of hits like Rockin' Robin and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, advice that maybe he might regret not having taken. It's easy to forget that he had started in 1971 and had over a decade before he went from massively to hugely successful. The 1980s really began to rock for Michael in 1982 when Thriller dropped. And for him, the world changed. By some measure, it is still the best-selling album of all time, and one of the most influential. The music videos were cinematically created by Hollywood A-listers like Sam Raimi. The dance moves couldn't be performed by any mere mortal, and couldn't be faked by AI, as it hadn't been invented yet. The whole world woke up and took notice, and it kept happening with hit after hit, such as Bad and Dangerous, which were ironically really good, and quite safe and family-friendly. Head to this day and getting stuck in younger generations, even if they're partly as remixes. The videos were news events, in a way that most modern world leaders wished they could make. Black and White, Billie Jean. Listen to the music and watch the cinematic masterpiece. Of course, the videos were only ever a taster for the even more amazing live shows. He could dance like a demon without ever missing a beat. It was the whole performance. The way he moved on stage was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Everything he did felt like he was making history. Everyone watched him with bated breath for what he was going to do next. Except for the interviews, he was an evasive and mysterious figure, the most desired man in the world. Never seemed to have a partner, and never seemed to reveal the inner self, even as his personal life opened up so many questions. His closest friend was apparently a chimpanzee called Bubbles. He was an ever-youthful Peter Pan of pop, and of course his home was called Neverland, an amazing, child-friendly land of zoos, a train and theme park rides. Was he the prince of pop who could never grow up to be king? If only Bubbles spoke sign language, we could ask him, as he's still alive today. And even the fairest of princes need to grow up. Or do they? But here's where the story gets complicated and tragic. Michael Jackson was the man who could be seen by millions on MTV and thousands in stadiums, but almost nobody personally. The same fame that elevated Michael to godlike status also turned him into the most scrutinized human being on earth. The media loved him one minute and tore him apart the next. The pressure was relentless. The isolation was real. By the late 80s, the man who could fill stadiums was becoming increasingly reclusive. The wealth, the fame, the expectations. It was an avalanche, and Michael was caught right in the middle of it. The decade didn't just put him on a pedestal, it glued his feet to it. Some people say the 80s were the peak. Others say it was the beginning of the end. The truth? It might have been both at the same time. A big problem is, if you've commanded the charts for most of a decade, Thriller followed by Bad, then some not-so-successful compilation and live albums, when your music has changed the world, just selling a few million is small change. And as his music became less the story, his personal life became instead. Why was his skin getting so pale? his face changing. Stories of a mystery illness seemed even more see-through than his skin. He never seemed to find a family, a partner, or even many trustworthy friends. And the scandals about his personal life that would dog him in the 90s and noughties were usually born in the 80s. If genius and fame were money, he should have banked his more conscientiously, so he could have avoided the great financial crash that hit the end of the 1980s. Did the 1980s make Michael Jackson? Undoubtedly. He was bigger than the shoulder pads and hair that defined the age. But did it break him? Maybe. But the experience of so much fame in such an outrageous age surely started the problems that would follow him forward. Follow us to learn more about the artist who made the 1980s the Technicolored Age of Wonder.